Thanks for staying with us. So over the weekend, a viral video of Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State surfaced online, where he was lamenting on the uncertainty state of the country's finances. According to him, the rising debt profile is worrisome and dependence on crude oil is no longer sustainable. Tell us something we don't already know. Now, according to him, he says when we got to the Federal Account Allocation Committee, that's FAAC, meeting for March, the federal government had, according to him, printed additional 50 to 60 billion naira for them to share. Now, according to him, the economy is no longer what it used to be, and obviously we have to find different ways of generating internal revenue across the states. What are your thoughts on this? Now, of course, CBN has come out to say, you don't know where he got that information from, who told him that they are printing, that he has to substantiate his claims. But he didn't know that was being recorded at the time. So he was there opening up to his entire team that, listen, Nigeria is not what it used to be. The economy is not what we used to think it was. Right now, we don't have money in essence. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 091-390-76948. You can also call us on 081-270-53687. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. So as I said earlier, he's not telling us something we don't already know. But I think when we assume that our leaders don't know the truth or they're oblivious of the real situation, that they come out and act as if everything is well. But when they are in their private quarters, it seems as though sometimes they tell each other the truth. But even if they're telling each other the truth, what are they doing or showing to demonstrate that they're actually fixing the problem? What are your thoughts on these remarks? I'd like to start with anybody that's ready. Yeah, Nima, go ahead, please.
Okay, so initially, I wouldn't expect this to be public news. I would expect a financial expert or someone who knows why and what to be the one releasing it. So maybe the governor was a bit reckless, releasing these figures out there. Because now what he has really caused is fear of an impending inflation. If people think that it's possible to print, I didn't know it was possible for government to just go and print money. We thought that the regulation across is in value of our strength, our economic strength of what we trade in and what we buy in. And so that's why we always stop to petrol. So if it is true what he has released, and the federal government should please just own up. The debt management office has denied this. The CBN is saying he should substantiate it. But this fact has come out there, whether he recklessly said it or not. We should know what exactly we're dealing with now. Constantly, our finance minister constantly says it is okay for us to borrow for this. It's just how to generate revenue. Every time he talks about how to generate revenue without necessarily stating how the revenue will be generated. The defense for allowing us borrow every time in the papers is, we can continue borrowing, but we should just find more ways to generate revenue. Okay, so along with her suggestion and approval of certain loans that we're taking, I'd like to hear her tell us more things that will bring in money.
Some have described this as, how when a CEO is having a meeting with his ESCO and say, listen, the board has said that there's no more funding for us, so you guys have to go out and find this thing. Things are not like before. And then the staff go out, leak out the information, and really the idea was not for that information to be leaked out. It was to get the team to work, to sit up, not because he wanted that information out. So could this be what this is, and where it's not being taken out of proportion, or is he really telling them the real truth or the fact that he heard?
Is he saying what is happening?
Is he saying what? So that's where the confusion is. Talk about it. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I don't believe that it is something that shouldn't. He's saying something that was like a coded thing. I think that everybody, what you said, like you said earlier, everybody knows this thing. We know that it's wrong for governors, and I like the fact that he said that governors keep on going to the center to share the money, and everybody is going to collect what they will use to pay salaries. That system is not sustainable, and we've said that several times, and I think that's what I want to highlight. The job of a governor is to take responsibility for his state and generate income for his state, is to be creative to find a solution to these people's problems. The federal government cannot be paying the state governors' salaries and every staff working. So what exactly is the ministries, all the ministries within the states, what exactly are they doing? How productive are they that their salary is coming from federal government? So for me, the system is already very, very skewed. And we know there's a problem, but we're not addressing it. We're making it look like we'll keep on borrowing until at the point where we cannot borrow anymore, or what? Is highlighting problems. I want the NGF to come up with solutions. That's why we have a governors forum. It's not just to advocate for how they will share or how they will not agree if you don't share, but how there will be an exchange of intelligent ideas on how each state can generate income and how each ministry within the state should work to generate the cash flow necessary. If it is by taxation, if it is by creating a neighboring environment, if it is by encouraging businesses to come, you must do something so that your internal revenue can cover the cost of your salaries, not federal all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think everyone has said everything that needs to be said concerning this. And for me, you know, when he said that the government had to print money, red flags just went up my head, because I'm sure for many people who have done economics, at least at basic level, you know that just printing money causes inflation. The value of your money drops. Money, yes, will be increased in the system, but they're still chasing the same number of goods. So you have more money than there is output in the economy, and that affects us badly. But there are instances where monies have had to be printed, especially during this COVID pandemic era. I think some countries have had to do that really to generate and, you know, stir up economic activity within the economy. So it's usually like a short-term thing to address a problem. But my fear is that what he said was printed for was, as usual, the governors have gone cap in hand, waiting for the allocation to pay bills as usual, you know, and that is the problem. But there's nothing else that he said that we're not aware of. But there's something that he said about, I think he mentioned Chevron particularly, that they have invested heavily in alternative fuel. And here we are, we're putting in a lot of money in refineries, refurbishing some old refineries, and we're still trying to figure out, you know, we're still having that conversation if it was the right decision or not. Meanwhile, countries that would be depending on these petroleum products are moving on to something else. So
one has been invested.
Good. So where will we be in the next, you know, sometimes we've given ourselves 10 to 20 years, but I'm thinking in the next 5 years, where will we be?
Now, so sometimes I'm going back to what I was alluding to earlier, that is this some kind of a wake-up call to Nigerians? Because listen, when this administration came in, they told us how are you going to get revenue, because you asked the question, the minister told us, first of all, they're going to see taxation. They also wanted to see how they can get money from agriculture, like they were trying to stir up agriculture. And I think, of course, field, basic stuff. But how has that done so far? Not so well. The FAAC told you that they're finally having difficulties getting Nigerians to pay taxes. So maybe if this gloomy picture is painted to Nigerians, at least, you know, they keep telling us we have a window. The Minister of Finance keeps saying, but don't worry, we've not yet overshot our opportunity for borrowing, that we still have that gap, you know. But yes, you have that window to borrow, but we don't have enough plans to recoup on this our borrowing, to pay back. So taxation, people are not paying their taxes. Agriculture, many Nigerians are not entering agriculture. We're not even the economy on agriculture hasn't really been developed to the point where it's giving the country enough revenue. So how do we really ensure that people are doing their own parts so we don't get into this problem in future?
So for me, I think that we've been playing, the president came into being the president about 6 years ago on the campaign that we're going to diversify the economy, and it was like, oh, we're going to empower agriculture and we're going to diversify the economy. But from then till now, even today, our major export from Nigeria is still natural gas and crude oil. So obviously, if we're supposed to make any agri products exceed the exporting of crude oil, we need to do more in incentivizing that agri product. And we need to choose the agri products we're going to incentivize. And we need to sign contracts with them. We still do agri on mushroom, small levels. We're still struggling to get tractors to clear grass. Okay, so Umera has 5,000 acres of land, and we are looking, we would get 5 tractors to clear land, and 3 will break down. Why? We don't have incentives on clearing of the land. If you provide them to clear land, people will farm the land. So there are many forests that are available for farming, and yet we don't have. We're playing lip service to encouraging agriculture, and we know that agriculture would employ more people. We're playing lip service to developing the value chain, knowing that it is in that value chain that will grow. We're really not ready.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring in an expert to shed more light on this topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So with us now is Professor Olufemi Shebu. He's a professor of economics and director, Institute of Nigeria, China Development Studies, University of Lagos. Welcome to the show, sir. Are you there?
I'm here with you.
Good to have you on the show. So we're discussing the statement made by Governor Obaseki concerning the state of the Nigerian economy and the fact that there's a possibility that the CBN is printing 60 billion naira for the various governors to share. Of course, he also reminded us that many countries are divesting from petrol, crude oil, because everybody, they're looking for alternatives. In Nigeria, what do you think about what he said, first of all? Yes. And what would you propose can be our next steps from this? Professor, are you there? Okay, I'm told.
Yes, I'm here with you.
Okay, yes, go ahead, please. You heard my question, correct?
Okay, so number one, I think we need to understand the situation that the country is at the moment. And number two, the options that are available for the government when and then again, what exactly the print of money implies, as well as what at least it can do and it must be used for. And before we can look at the alternatives that we can adopt, every government in the world always find this what they call revenue are not synchronized automatically. In most cases, expenditure comes before revenue come around, and the government must ensure that the economy keeps running, and therefore they need to look for means of ensuring that the government is not shut down, the system is working. And so when for at least these kind of alternatives, and the alternative that's always available when situation like that arises is looking at the ways and means of CBN. By Nigerian Central Bank law, at least it permits CBN to come to the aid of government in gaps and shortage as well. So over time, the government has been using this approach to be able to meet these in spending gaps as well. But the question is this: should we go that line? Number two, to what extent should we rely on it? And again, like Dr. Salami said at that time, that CBN not to become a piggy bank for the government. But the facts remain that in the reliance on domestic finances,
Professor, I think we're going to have to disconnect the Zoom call and try to call you via phone so that we can have a very good conversation with you. It's important we get your views on this matter. I'll come back to the ladies. So what are your thoughts? So
me, I'm very scared being from Edo. I took, when I saw the email, I read, our debt profile. As at the time the governor became governor, we were at about 280-something million domestic debt profile. And under his watch, we grew from that to 95.69 billion debt profile in 2019, according to the Daily Trust report that I read. And that's according to what the domestic, our DMO office, released. And I was wondering, in that short period of time, we just grew our debt profile, but we didn't grow our economy as a state. This is a state I know have strong young youth population, and they have a vast amount of arid land in the state. I grew up, my grandfather a farmer, and I know that if they were to go into agriculture in Edo State, the number of plantains coming to Lagos all the time is from Benin. So what exactly was the governor doing to, to encourage, business activities within the state before you now have to fall into this category of, always relying on the federal allocation? I want a situation where even every state Because he also released the week before saying that other states are in debt, and he highlighted Lagos State. But we know what Lagos State generates every time in the internal generated revenue. They release the figures publicly, and they are calm, you know, they're able to borrow and meet up development. Right. But
let me take this call from Bernard, Port Harcourt. Bernard, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay. What I want to say is that many rational Nigerians are clamoring for strong institutions. When we have strong institutions, we will not talk about federal or state. Because if you want to remove everything from federal and take it to states, and let states allocate to themselves whatever it is, the same thing will also apply. Local government will be shouting. So federal government has all the parastatal institutions. Some are meant for the allocation of all those resources. If the institutions are strong, they will manage the money very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Okay.
So I really wanted to hear what the professor had to say concerning the economical impact of printing, because I know that the job of the CBN and the Minister for Finance is to stimulate the economy. We don't want things to descend to the point where there is no buying power. That is important. We have to get people spending money. But I wanted a breakdown of the impact of that printing and how the loss of value is affecting us all. Because I was having a conversation on the social media platform, and somebody was like, she's in the UK, that she knew when pounds was 400, and then pounds became 500, and now pounds is 600, and she's worried that she's hearing from people that she felt were comfortable, who are saying they want to leave the country to start earning in foreign exchange. And she's wondering, how will those who are dependent on Naira and they are buying things in other currencies feel? That's the impacts of inflation. That's the impact of our currency the value of our currency losing value on a daily basis. And that's what I would like our government to pay attention to. That's what I would like our minister to talk about. Not just that we are within 40% range, but what's the money, what's the Naira? Is it, we wait until we become like Ghana was then, when 1,000 is 1,000 to $1 or what, before we now sit up and do what we need to do to improve export? Because the way to get revenue is to export, produce.
Some of these tweets here. Prince Ishmael says, I don't have a problem with him informing Nigerians about the bitter reality on ground. Instead, I have a problem with they knowing the truth and yet not reducing the cost of leadership style. And then Remlex says this, says Lagos State Commissioner of Agric has been calling for investors to come into red meat agriculture sector to develop the value chain, which would create employment in ranching, abattoir, milk, cattle, medicine, leather, meat, fertilizer, cooking oil, etc. How many states do this? So that's now back to us, you know. When you point the finger, they say 5 is pointing back at you. What are we doing?
Let me take this call from Moyo. Moyo from Munsuka, are you there? Moyo, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
You're
live, Moyo. Go ahead.
I think in our country, Nigeria, our states can actually even produce a lot of revenue for this nation. The universities alone, when I look at the universities, I always say to myself, I wonder if the person giving them this landmarks was sleeping, because we have a lot of large space in that universities. In fact, ASU shouldn't be going on strike asking for money from the federal government, because inside these schools, every state has unique things that they produce. In Enugu, they have oil. Niger State is large enough to feed the whole nation. Benue State produce yam. I think the universities itself can produce revenue for the school. The state can produce a lot of revenue. And I think until the federal government, until Nigerians begin to hold our politicians that they must do something, because our politicians have businesses, private businesses that are working. These are people that are intelligent. These are people that have succeeded in their own businesses. But when they get into power, we discover that everything they have promised us, nothing works out. And I begin to wonder, I begin to ask, what is going on? So I feel there is a problem. Something is wrong. These people are smart. They know how to produce revenue. They understand how to create money for the nations. We should stop beating around the bush. They should make these things work. Our governors can make money. They should stop coming back back to the central to collect money. Lagos State is doing these things. Other states can do these things. We should produce money. They should go back and they should show results. They should start asking for money.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I like she mentioned universities. Yes. Like universities have land.
Our solution
there was no. Apart from that, there was a university, a Greek university that was saying that seeking partnership with farming business companies to come and use their land. That because they have this large expanse of land, can you come and plant corn all over? And that's how federal government has land, massive land everywhere that is not being.
My own problem with agriculture in our country is that it's still at a subsistence level.
Yes.
And I don't understand why it just seems that we cannot get our act together and invest heavily and fully in that industry.
It's a change. Some people can even invest in that, you know, and you allow a higher business start where people can come and get the machinery they need, hire it, and that's profit for you also.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have our professor back. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So I'm told we still have Professor Shebu. Good, sir, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So I know Tokwe had a question for you because we want to go straight into the solution of this. Yes, Tokwe, concerning the printing.
I wanted to ask. I wanted you to break down the challenges with printing money, the impact of printing money on our economy and on individual, like how a Nigerian watching right now will understand that if you print money, this is how it will make me feel. This is its impact on my account balance. Yes, the effects.
Yes, when a country relies on printing money, the purpose is to inflate the economy, is to increase money supply in the economy, and the implication is that the purchasing power of the people will fall, and people will pay more for little they are buying. At least in the period when such inflation is prevailing. So it's affecting people seriously in terms of their power and income. However, we need to understand this very clearly. The government that's inflating the economy has a reason for doing that. And the reason, like I mentioned the earlier time, is to bridge the revenue gap. And if now that is done successfully, our focus therefore should be how and what we use such funding for. So in Nigeria, we need to shift our focus from even federal government as if they are magician, as the governor have said, that we look at what happens at state level, local level. This money that's being shared every month from this printing of money, what exactly do they use them for? If this money are channeled to new companies, new investments that are coming up, this investment again will be able to generate revenue from which tax will be paid, and then again that will be revenue based of government, and borrowing will be paid off. So the implication.
Okay, we're trying, so we can't, well, let's take a few tweets and wrap up.
Yeah, so Mr. Adebaya says majority of elected leaders lack the capacity and brains to solve any economic issues. They were elected by a default system, hence we keep having a stunted economic growth. You can't reap potatoes where you plant orange. And I think that's majorly, if you look through the tweets, it's just saying that we need to be more creative at that local state level. And that's why the conversation for restructuring has to be at the forefront, especially today when you're talking about the reps, what they're pushing forward. This is what we're going through. You are part of the economy. You should know what the important steps are, and stop bringing things that we have to wrap up right now.
It's convenient when you want to talk about government. When you're in the legislation, you say government. When you're in the state government, you say government again. As if like somebody else's problem and not yours. Let me
so we have to wrap. Yeah, go ahead.
Love Child says the alarmist didn't prefer solutions in his vituperations. More so, according to his claims, is it that they all no longer yield income to the federal government, or is the revenue low? If there are no funds, as he has claimed, what are the policies the government is using to divert the economy.
We have to wrap up on this. Unfortunately, we're having network issues with our guests. Hopefully, some other time we'll bring in. But I think there are still some questions that are left unsaid, unanswered. Number one, the fact that can we continue to borrow? What can we do to ensure we have multiple streams of generating revenue for the economy? And what responsibilities the citizens themselves have, because there's an informal sector that pay taxes. But some of these taxes are not well represented. You know, we don't see it in the purse. Either they're going into personal pockets and all that. So there are ways to fix this problem, to nip and cover all these loopholes. But unfortunately, there are lots of leakages. But let me just take one call, then we're going to break. Good morning, sir. Are you there? Ooh, I think we lost that call. All right, that's it. We can take on this. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.